So in this first video series, we're going to be talking about getting started in the beginning IMTech basics. So basically, preparing for success here, there's three things that you really need to get going with your internet business. Most people out there probably already know this, but it always helps to have a nice refresher. Step number one, you need to make sure you're purchasing a niche specific domain. That means a domain name specific to the market that you're trying to enter. So if that's dog training, if that's weight loss, you want to have a domain name that's very specific to whatever your target market is, meaning the people that you are trying to reach. Step number two, you want to make sure you purchase web hosting. Quite honestly, there are free places you can host your site. There's free blogging services, but there is nothing like having your own web hosting and your own domain name that you control. That's when you have a real successful online business. That's when you have something real. It's yours. Nobody else can take it away, because at any moment, with WordPress, Blogger, anything like that, in just a moment's notice, all the work you've done could be gone because they own it all. So can't encourage you more than, just if you're starting out, get a domain and get your own hosting. Step number three, you could consider it an optional step. I really consider it a very, very important step, and that is to invest in an autoresponder. And we'll talk about a few features of good autoresponders, because really an autoresponder is also something after you get your domain and hosting that can really generate ongoing profits, as you'll discover here in just a little bit. So these are the things we're going to be covering today. These are the technology basics that we could say. IMTech basics. This is what you've got right here. So step number one, you need to get a domain name. For those that are just brand new starting out, it's also referred to as a URL or web address, and it's basically the starting point of creating your web presence. Whether that's going to be a squeeze page, a blog, a website, you need to start off with the domain name. Now, these may seem like very basic steps, but it always, it never hurts to go back to the basics. And there's many people out there that are brand new online, and so if you can get going and invest in the right domain right from the start, you're going to be much further ahead than a lot of people were that started off with the wrong domain when they first started out. So in case you're wondering to know, just a little technical background, each and every domain name has a corresponding numeric address known as an IP address, and this allows hosts to connect to each other through the internet. So it's, your domain is almost like the address of your house, the address of your place of business, your favorite place to go. It's basically an address that you know exactly where it is, that's unique to that location. Initially, domain names could be 15 characters long, but now you can have up to 67 characters in a domain name. So you can have some pretty long domains, basically, is all that means. Obviously, the shorter, the better. It's basically, like I said, like the address of your house or office. And your domain is extremely important because it's the starting point of your business, so understand the importance of selecting the right domain for your projects. So the basics here around making your domain purchase include identifying a profitable niche. That means understanding who your target market is. If you are into creating sewing kits for people, then your target market is going to be people interested in sewing kits. So you would want to buy a domain related to sewing kits, for example. If you are into teaching people how to be better golfers, you would want to buy a domain name related to golfing. If, let's say, you're wanting to start a business, an e-commerce type store like Amazon or something that maybe sells pet related product, you want to have a domain name that's related to pets, dogs, cats, something of that nature, something that would relate to that market. That may seem like common sense, but I've seen people buy some really crazy domains when they first started out. I know a lot of people that are just starting out forget the importance of having and identifying a profitable niche and then going after it with a good domain name. Then you also want to make sure that you identify the keywords associated to that profitable niche. Now, in just a moment here, I'm going to jump off the screen and go into the Google AdWords keyword tool and show you how a cool little free tool can help you brainstorm some absolutely phenomenal domain name ideas. And just because this part is so important, having the right keywords in your domain will actually help your website rank in the search engines. It's actually one of the most important factors. You've got title tags and meta tags. Title tags are super important though to getting ranking, but having the keywords in the domain as well is a very big part of ranking in the big search engines, especially with Google. So I highly recommend that you try to come up with a good keyword rich domain name. Now, if you can't write fast enough to get this domain, just remember to search in Google AdWords keyword tool external, and you should get this free tool, AdWords keyword tool external. And come into a decision on what your domain name will be and how this domain will identify your niche. That's very, very important. So just think your domain is extremely important. Put a little thought into it. Don't waste tons of time, but if it takes you a day to come up with the right domain or a few hours, then great, because it is very important. As you get more established, like anything with internet marketing or with an online business, it will become much simpler for you. Now, choosing a domain registrar. Where you purchase your domain is also important. The domain registrar should be responsive to customer needs. This means they should provide customer service in a timely, accurate, and friendly manner. And I would really consider ones that offer 24/7 support. I personally, most marketers use GoDaddy. There's also Namecheap. Those are two that come right after that that have tremendous customer support. Because a lot of times the domain is really, it's one of the most important assets for your online business, and so you want to have it in reliable hands. And a domain registrar is basically who you go to register your domain name. Just like you go to the bank, to do banking transactions, you go to a somebody else to do your, hairstylist to do your hair. You go to a domain registrar to get your domain. That's what they specialize in, and I recommend you go to them to get your domain going. Some domain registrars offer hosting, but as you'll find out as we go on with this training today, I recommend that you host your business elsewhere. It's not like it's going to kill you, but basically it's one of those deals where you get burgers at burger places, you get fish at fish place, and you get steak at steak places. It's the best way to put it. Some domain places offer hosting. It's nowhere near as feature rich as hosting you would get somewhere else, much like some hosting companies could allow you to register domains, but it's just not quite as good as if you register elsewhere. So so these are just some things to look at when choosing a good domain registrar when you're starting out, or even if you've already have some domains purchased. You might want to go back and on your future domains maybe look at a few other options. Like I said, purchase them from separate places. This allows you more control, because if something happened with the domain registrar, then everything's down, so at least you have some control there. And then you want to point your domain to another web host, and you'll be up and running in a very short time, as I'm actually going to show you here live. And like I said, GoDaddy or Namecheap, they're considered the best just because most people use them. GoDaddy actually does a lot of Super Bowl commercials. They really get themselves out there. They are extremely reliable. I know most online marketers tend to use GoDaddy. There's really a number of domain registrars. You can go to Google and find them, but just try to look for some that have a good track record, have been online for about 5 to 10 years, have 24/7 support, and you'll be in good shape. So with that said, I'm actually going to jump off the slide here before I jump into web hosting, and I'm actually going to go over step by step how to register a domain name. So I kind of explain the ins and outs of it, but I think it'll help you a lot if I can go off the screen here and actually show you a little bit of what to do with domains. Okay, so I'm over here now on GoDaddy.com. GoDaddy.com is one of the most popular domain registrars out there. So they're a place you can go to register your domain. There's also GoDaddy, and then Namecheap was the other one, just so you can see what it looks like. Their look and feel may change, but this is what they look like at the moment. Very, very basic concept. So what you do here, you can start your domain search there. So let's say you're wanting to enter, let's just say like the dog training market. So let's just say dog training, and let's just say dog training site. Let's just say, see if that's available. I doubt that one's available. But let's say you're trying to go after the phrase dog training. So it looks like that domain's taken. Now I did mention it's very wise to use a keyword tool. So that's actually what I'm going to do here. Is I'm going to go out and we're going to use the AdWords keyword tool external. AdWords keyword tool external. So that's what you want to type in here. It should be the first result you get in Google. So I'm going to come here and click on that, and it's going to load up here, and it'll give me a security check. So you just put this in, and again, this is a free tool that I'm using. It's a free tool supplied by Google. So if, for example, we are going after, let's just say, the dog training market, very popular market. or the dog breed market. I know that one's also very big. So let's just say we're going to go after the dog breed market for this example. So let's just type in dog breed, and it's going to actually bring back a variety of websites, or excuse me, a variety of keyword phrases related to dog breeds and dog breed information. So if we're wanting to start an informational website where maybe we have AdSense and affiliate links and things like that on it, a good starting point would be the AdWords keyword tool, because you want to establish a nice keyword rich domain name. So that's what I'm doing here. So I'm typing in dog breed to get the search started, and it's coming in here and showing me quite a few different results. Now if I wanted to sort those by most popular searches, all I had to do was just click at the top here where I searched. Now as you scroll down here, you'll notice on the left hand side of the AdWords keyword tool, it'll ask you, to narrow down keyword phrases. So what I'm going to do is uncheck those, and I want to bring it down to where it only brings up keywords related to the keyword that I wanted, which is dog breed. I don't want to learn about dogs. I don't want to read about different breeds separately. I don't want dogs with an S, and miscellaneous terms, don't really care about those. I mainly am caring about the dog breed keywords. So there's 171 of those based on what this shows me. And you can see here that 1.5 million searches per month on a global basis, meaning all over the world. That's a very big niche market. So we've established a good profitable niche, and I think we need to come up with a good solid domain name that we can work from. So there's a few ideas here. We've got all dog breeds. We've got dog breeds list. All dog breeds, that's kind of an interesting phrase that people are looking for, and that might possibly be a good domain name. So I'm going to type this in here, all dog breeds. There's probably a good chance this is already taken, but really this is the how you can register good domain names. So come in here, all dog breeds site, all dog breeds online. That's not a bad domain. But there is actually another little strategy that you could do, that you could just try as well. You can come on in here, and if you find one that looks good to you, then you could just grab it. Otherwise, you come on in here and pull down this list of domains, download all 57, put them into a text file or a CSV file, that's fine, and download that. It'll take just a moment. And you can choose what to open it with. So we'll just open it with Excel for right now. And this is just opening a listing of these keyword phrases. And I'm just going to grab all these keywords here that I got, copy that, and we're going to go right on over here to GoDaddy's website over here. And let's just see domains, and then you want to come down here to where it says bulk domain registration. So domains and bulk domain registration. So to go back to what I just did, I went over here to where I pulled up my keywords. I downloaded my keywords, put them into an Excel spreadsheet or anything else that you have. It could be an open office spreadsheet, which is also free. Simply right click on the keyword phrases and copy them. And I'm going to jump back over here to where it says under domains, it's going to say bulk domain registration. Okay, so now what I'm going to do here is just grab this and paste in all these keyword phrases, and we want to just do a search for .com and .net domains. What it's going to do is actually combine all of these and do a massive search for us to see which one. You can enter up to 500 domains, and it's going to tell us which one of these keyword phrases that we found in this market might be available to purchase. And there's probably a good chance that none of them are available. And it looks like every one of those is unavailable. So that kind of tells you something that you might want to come up with some different modifiers as well. Here's a few that look like they are available though. Dogbreedlist.net, that's not a bad name. ChooseDogBreed.com, ChooseDogBreed.net, and actually these are not bad at all. Terrier Dog Breed, Smartest Dog Breed, Popular Dog Breed. These are actually pretty good, domain names. So I'm actually going to go over here and grab dogbreedlist.net. .net. That's going to be the domain I'm going to go with. So I'm going to come over here to where it says domains now, and I'm now going to register my domain. Okay, so I use these different methods that I showed you, but it all started with this AdWords keyword tool. You don't have to go through all the process I just went through. If you have a domain on top of your head and you think it's available, grab it if it's there. Otherwise, use this tool to come up with some great keyword ideas, just like what I did. And this is a technique not a lot of people teach or know how to do. So, this is a brilliant method to come up with some great domains. Okay, so what you need to do now is create an account at GoDaddy, or you need to just log into your existing account. So I'm going to go ahead and if I was brand new, this is where I'd put in my information with them. They're a very secure website. They do have 24/7 support, so if for some reason you get stuck, they could even assist you in getting your domain name set up. So I'm just going to log in here, and this will take just a moment. Okay, so it looks like we are logged in here. So next thing that I'm going to do, right up here in the right hand corner, it'll say start domain search, or you come up here to where it says products, and there'll be like a drop down menu, and you can just come up here and go through the process of registering your domain name. So let's just log in here, dogbreedslist.net, and hit go, and we'll see if that's still available. Dogbreedlist.net is available, just $8.99 a year, so we're just going to go ahead and add the domain. Okay, so we've narrowed down a very keyword rich domain name here with this process. So it is available. Let's just continue with the registration. Now I will warn you, they have a lot of upsells, a lot of downsells, and all sorts of things like that. What you need is you only need a domain. I typically register, most marketers, 1 year to 2 years max, so you do not need to register them for a very long length of time. 1 to 2 years will be just fine for you. Okay, we're just going to register this one for 1 year, and come on down here and click next. So your privacy, for those starting out, in most cases, standard will be just fine. Some people feel the need to protect their who is information. When you're running an online business, though, most websites already have phone numbers, emails, things like that on them. So there's really nothing you're protecting. That's just an opinion that I have. When I first started out, when most people start out, they think that they need to protect it all, and so then they end up spending way more than they need to every year on their domain. So that one I'll leave up to you, but you really don't need it. Standard will be just fine, and it's the lowest cost method. Okay, so activate your domain. They're going to try to get you more upsells, and most domain registrars, they have all these upsells. And like I said before, you don't need hosting from them. You should only come out in your shopping cart with it's something around $9 to $11 or $12. You shouldn't come out having spent $200, $300, $400, although that can happen with these domain registrars. So it's important that you're careful, which is one reason I wanted to step you through the process. They are very reliable, though, once you get your domain registered. So I'm just going to continue to check out, and we're just going to use PayPal here. Okay, so this will take just a moment. This is where you can check your information, and then scroll on down here, and you've read and agreed to the terms. I've registered a lot of domains, so we'll just place our order now. And if you decide to pay with credit card, obviously you would input your credit card there, or if you decide to do, if you're brand new and use your PayPal, then that's what you would do. So it's now going to tell me thank you for your order, so the order is now complete. So that is step by step how you register your domain name. So we've now registered our domain. So I'm going to jump back into the training here, and we're going to go over web hosting now. So we're going to jump back into the training here and discuss web hosting. Okay, so step 2 is now web hosting. So there's only so many choices to choose from when it comes to web hosting. There's a lot of them out there, but there's only a few that are really good, much like domain registrar companies. For any kind of web hosting, I definitely recommend you try to go with a bigger name for web hosting, just because it's more reliable. I know some businesses end up, they go in with a local provider, they end up paying 5 to 10 times more than what they should be, and then they come to find out if they have a problem, they're only available to help from 9 to 5. They have holidays off and things like that. Not that those people don't deserve that, but bigger companies, they have staff around the clock there to help you 24/7. So before making a decision, there's some options that you need to understand. So some common types of hosting that you're going to see available. I'm going to kind of explain what those are. You've got shared web hosting. That's the most common that you see. Reseller web hosting, VPS hosting, and some of these you really don't need to know what all these are. It's just important to understand, just for your own good, which ones might fit you best. In most cases, I'll tell you 90% of the cases starting out, this is what you're going to want to go with. There's dedicated servers, and the reason I want to show this to you is because when you go out to get hosting, you're going to be wondering, which ones do I need to do? Which options are best for me? So basically, shared web hosting, it's something commonly offered on the internet, and it's what most people use. It's when you have more than one user account on a server. So for example, HostGator, as a lot of people have heard about, they have a low-end package offering shared web hosting. A package, where you can get unlimited websites and domains. We're talking for, $12 a month or so, which is very low cost. You could have, a few other domains, they have a lower-end package. It's $7 a month, So for anybody starting out, shared web hosting is almost definitely going to be the way to go. In fact, I know some very successful marketers that still use shared web hosting, that don't do dedicated hosting, that still use shared web hosting with huge amounts of bandwidth, that's being transferred and moved around. So don't ever think, and get caught up and think that you need a $100 a month hosting package right off the bat. $12 a month hosting package, $5 a month package, whatever it is for a shared web hosting should be almost 90% of people starting out and launching their business, and even seasoned marketers, are going to go with the shared web hosting account. There's reseller hosting, for those wondering. It's basically a type of web hosting that positions you as a webmaster. So it's like if you wanted to host websites for other people, but if you are brand new and starting out, then you probably don't even want to venture into this field. But if you are established and have a business, reseller hosting basically allows you to sell packages to maybe your customers, maybe buy things from you. You could actually be your own little web hosting company and maintain things for them. So say it costs you $25 a month to host 10 accounts, and say each one of those accounts pays you $25 a month, you're profiting, around $225 a month for to host people's websites. If you were going to do something like that to local businesses and things like that, that's what reseller hosting is. Basically, VPS hosting, it's a virtual private server, and this type of hosting service allows the server to run on its own with its own dedicated machine. You really don't need to do much with that one. Same thing with the dedicated server. That's more of a high-end web hosting solution. In this particular case, you're leasing a server that is configured to your specifications, and this would include memory, disk space, drive space, CPU, operating system. That's very expensive, but a lot of people that have a huge amount of traffic and things like that, they go with a dedicated solution. But again, you are definitely going to want to go with a shared web hosting plan when you're first starting out. So web hosting for beginners, as we said, shared hosting is more than adequate to meet your needs. You really may never need to move to semi-dedicated or dedicated. So basically, if you're at a point where you need to upgrade, you'll know when that point comes, and that means your business growth and revenue are going to justify the additional cost. So I don't want to see anybody thinking they need reseller hosting or dedicated hosting when they're starting out. You're just fine with the $12 a month. Steer clear of the $300 a month hosting options or $100 a month. You don't need them when you're starting out. If you are starting, go with a shared hosting plan. So some good web hosting features, much like domains. I wanted to share with you a few good web hosting features that you need to keep an eye out for. You need a web hosting service that is reliable, feature-rich with cPanel, and has 24/7 support available for you. That is so important, the 24/7 support. I've personally been on the phone. Other marketers have been on the phone at 7 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning because your websites are down. People can't download files. People can't visit your website for whatever reason. It's really nice to be able to call on somebody, even over a weekend time. It's very important to be able to do that. Disk space, so this is another feature you'll probably see. This refers to the amount of file storage available for your files and scripts and everything like that. The actual desired available disk space would be unlimited, and it may sound silly, but most hosting companies now offer an unlimited package that's very inexpensive, and it's on a shared hosting plan. HostGator has one, and I know Bluehost has one. They have very good unlimited packages. Bandwidth, again, unlimited is good here. It's basically a measurement of the data flow to and from your web hosting account. So if you have a picture that's 1 megabyte to download, every time somebody goes to your, which would be a very large picture, but every time somebody visits your website, that would be a megabyte of bandwidth being used up, basically. It's a rough way to look at it. So again, the ideal desired bandwidth would be unlimited, and you put quotes around that because it's kind of like an all-you-can-eat buffet where when they feel like you have hit your limit, then they can tell you to calm things down a little bit and things like that. But again, if you're at a spot where you're using tons of bandwidth, your money is coming in so you can justify the expense. So don't ever be concerned about running out of bandwidth or disk space, unless you're doing an enormous product launch. But most marketers, even marketers that do very large product launches, 6-figure product launches, they're still using shared hosting on many occasions. So don't think that you need to rush out and get the big ones. cPanel, there's some hosting companies that do not provide it, but you really need a cPanel if you really want to make your life easier. cPanel, it's called cPanel or Control Panel. It basically, all of them have their version of it, but there's a certain version actually called cPanel that basically allows you to, manage your websites, your databases, your emails. That's where you manage your website. You can even track your stats, your web stats, your traffic, your downloads. All sorts of stuff on a cPanel, and it's very easy to use and work with. So you can also, within one click, install things like WordPress, install your own help desk, support desk. It makes your life much easier. So cPanel or Control Panel, try to find one with cPanel web hosting. Again, the major ones will have that: HostGator, Bluehost, IX Web Hosting, any of the other major ones that you've heard about, they will have a cPanel type hosting. It's a center hub of your website, basically. Reliable, obviously, is such a huge factor. Most of these large companies have a 99.9% uptime. It's really, they advertise that. In most cases, it might be 99.7 and things like that. But, in all actuality, it's much better to have 24/7 support, because if your site's down for an hour and you catch it on the weekend, at least you can get it resolved that day, instead of having to wait, till they're back in business hours at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock Monday morning, so then your site's down all weekend. So reliability is huge, and that's where it comes in, the 24/7 support. So some other features your hosting will have: it will have email. Basically, it allows you to create an email associated to your domain, which would help with branding recognition. So in the example that we're going to set up here, we have the domain dogbreedlist.net, dogbreedlist.net. I think it's a great domain. And if I wanted to brand that, I could say John Smith at dogbreedlist.net. If I wanted people to really look at me as the dog breed list expert, if that's what my business was about, whatever your business name, so it could be, Sally Mae at yourdomainname.com, yourwebsite.com, that kind of thing. So that's what email offers when they say they offer email. Most of them will offer a POP email. It's really sometimes referred to as POP3. It's a means of sending and retrieving email over the internet. So most of the time, if you have Microsoft Outlook or an Apple with Apple Mail on it, you know exactly what POP email is, because they've asked you about that. You want to have unlimited POP emails if they'll allow it. Sometimes you can do forwarding of emails, which is really cool, because you can basically make your business look like a huge enterprise, even though you're a small person. just a small one-person operation, you can actually have an email for sales, for support, for information, for inquiries, all sorts of things, and they could all be going to the same inbox, which is you, but it makes your company look huge, and that's where having email options really comes into play. So it's a very neat feature. And again, domains to be hosted is another thing that they will ask you or tell you about on their features section. And again, that one, the best option is unlimited. And the unlimited packaging that Bluehost and HostGator offers gives you the option of having unlimited domains. So you can have unlimited domains. It allows you to have unlimited, bandwidth usage, give or take, and unlimited file storage, which is outstanding. And they do monitor that for abuse. So that's so unlimited is used like within quotes, but literally an unlimited plan would last you for longer than you could even realize. So, and it's very inexpensive, very good cost. Subdomains, it's a domain that is part of a primary domain. So for example, if I the dogbreedlist.net, I might have myvideos.dogbreedlist.net, or I might have videos.dogbreedlist.net, without the www in there. Or you could have, let's say your name at yourname.dogbreedlist.net. That's what a subdomain is, in case you're wondering. In most cases, you really don't need to use them. It's mostly important to worry about how many domains can you get on there. And if you're planning on having 100, 200, 300 domains, you're going to be just fine with an unlimited package in most cases. Recommended web hosting services, HostGator.com. HostGator.com is a great recommended website hosting service. They're low cost, 24/7 support, reliable, unlimited hosting available, cPanel with Fantastico, which is very important, and then Bluehost, they're another low cost provider, great support, again reliable, unlimited hosting with cPanel. They also have Fantastico and Simple Scripts, and Simple Scripts is actually kind of like Fantastico, but it's a one-click install of even more software programs. So you can kind of look at both those options to consider, but both of those really give you everything that you could want with your web hosting needs. Okay, so now the final thing related to the hosting and domain aspect of this is your domain management. So with the domain purchase, you need to now change the DNS servers to point to your hosting account. And so in a second here, I'm actually going to go off the screen again and show you step by step how to actually take the domain that you purchased and actually point it to your web hosting at HostGator, Bluehost, IX Web Hosting, whichever hosting company you've selected to go with or you currently use. So you're basically logging into your domain, change the DNS, which stands for the name servers, to that of your web hosting account. And then once your domain is pointed, you just want to verify by testing. And so that's the process that I'm going to go through next. Okay, so we're inside our GoDaddy account, and we want to pull up our domain. So you just want to click on Manage, which will allow you basically to manage your domain. So just go over here, and you want to go to Domain Manager. And it's going to be, they have a left-hand navigation and a top-side navigation on GoDaddy. So we're going to see if that domain already made its way in here. So let's find it here. Dogbreedlist.net, there it is. And let's just put a check mark in there. Now what I'm going to do is, I've checked that there, and I'm going to come on in here, and where it says name servers, you see the stack of gold coins it looks like. It says name servers. You just want to select set name servers. So I just put in a check mark and then select set name servers. Set name servers. And this again is how I take my domain name and point it to my web hosting company. Now this may not sound attractive to you, may not be exciting, but unfortunately it is a part of having an online business, and a lot of people get stuck at this phase of the game. So right here, it's going to give you several options. You want to choose that you have a hosting account with these domain, or excuse me, I have a specific name servers for my domains. Specific name servers meaning you're hosting elsewhere. Well, what I've got here is basically a sample of what it looks like when you first get your hosting account. And I'm going to come on in here and insert that into my domain manager. Oops. So let's go back here and set the name servers. So it'll take just a moment here. And we're just going to paste this information in that came from our hosting company. Okay? And then we're simply going to choose OK. And it'll validate, and then it will submit the information. Typically, they'll give you name servers that go in succession. So you have NS303 and NS304. Every hosting company will be slightly different. Most of them will give it to you upon login to your cPanel or in your welcome email, as you saw that I was showing you there. And it will take a few minutes for these changes to take effect. And so up on my screen now is HostGator, and for this example, HostGator is the chosen hosting company to use. So what you've got here is HostGator, and you'll see the different hosting plan options on here. And in order to point the domain, you will have already needed your hosting account set up. But HostGator, I'll just show you some of the different features they have. You can just choose the web hosting tab, and they will give you like a side-by-side comparison, and most hosting companies do this, of their different packages. I know that Bluehost, for example, they give you a variety of different options, or excuse me, they give you one main option, and they have a, they're very, very reliable as well. So they'll say starting at a certain number, but that typically means that you are going to need, like if you're doing it on a monthly basis, it's going to cost you $14.95 a month. This would be if the discount comes when you do like 3 years in advance. I recommend you do whatever makes you feel comfortable. Most people just do the month to month, or if they're really on a budget, or they just pay for it a year in advance. Okay? So now that we've got HostGator here, I'm going to go ahead and log in to my HostGator account. So this will take just a moment here. Okay, so let's just log on in here. So you just need to go to your main domain name and then do /cPanel, because they're going to ask you for a domain when you set up your hosting. And for them, you're going to just go to your domain /cPanel. If you're going with Bluehost, you actually just go to bluehost.com and log in that way. So they're all kind of different in how they operate, but they will explain to you very thoroughly how it's done. But almost every one of the major hosting accounts is actually going to give you, your own name servers, your own access details, and all that. So you're going to have everything you need. But the major ones are going to give you cPanel, which you're actually going to see here in just a moment. So this is your website's cPanel or control panel. And what we're doing here now is we need to actually take the domain name that we just pointed the name servers, and we need to add it into our cPanel right now. So I'm going to go right on in here and scroll all the way down here to where it says domains. We'll give it just a moment to load up here. Okay, so we're inside cPanel now, and what's going to happen here is we need to look for domain. After it all loads up, you want to look for domains, and it's going to be found at the heading here. And again, we're trying to tie the domain name to that we purchased to our web hosting account here. So I'm just going to go here to add-on domains, and what I'm going to do here is just click add domain. And where it says new domain, what I'm going to enter here is the domain name that we purchased. So very, very simple. dogbreedlist.net. Okay, so dogbreedlist.net is the new domain. It'll ask you for a subdomain, FTP username, and you can just go with the domain there. That works just fine. Document root, just do like a / in there. And public HTML will be just fine. Password, just put in a basic password here that you remember. and it'll give you a basis on how strong that is, but you don't have to worry too much about that. Okay, so it'll be just a moment. So it's going through the process of adding the domain right now. So it says it has been created, and now we've added the domain. So we pointed the name servers and we added the domain to our hosting account. So that's really the process of tying the domain. So the biggest thing is to get your domain and get your hosting and set it up within your account. So I'm going to jump back into the training, and we're going to go over how to work with an autoresponder, which is another very important part of getting your online business going. So the third most important basic step is to set up your autoresponder. And for those that are not familiar with it, it's an online web application which provides you as a marketer a means of storing and retrieval of prospect and buyer contact information. In the case of the dog breed list website, this could be people that might be interested in dogs, that might be interested in dog training products, dog breeds. You could sell them all sorts of informational products even in that market. An autoresponder literally can be set up and run your entire business on autopilot, hence the name. This is an optional step, but it's also a very important part of having an online business because at some point you want to do list building. It can help you generate untold volumes of money if accurately used, and it's by far a tool of necessity. Some people say it may not be. It's really up to you, but it can really increase your profits. So reliability is obviously very important with autoresponders. Some common features they have website sign-up forms. You can maintain multiple lists with them or unlimited list. One that comes to mind is Aweber. They allow you to have unlimited list within their autoresponder. You can have email newsletters, email web analytics, and it's really just a very good, reliable service. They do a good job of responsibly keeping their service clean of spammers, which basically allows them to stay whitelisted at major internet service providers like, even like AOL, Yahoo Mail, different things like that, allows more of your emails that you promote to be delivered. So these are things to consider. Two that are most highly recommended are Aweber and GetResponse. You can just go to Google and look for those. There's obviously plenty more out there, but those two offer great support and they offer an amazing service and product. That actually wraps up this entire training for today.